The age-old debate about daylight saving time has once again reared its head, this time fueled by social media buzz and political maneuvering. As it stands, Congress is currently grappling with legislation that could abolish the twice-yearly time change, a ritual as ingrained in American life as baseball and oversized sodas. The debate, like many things in our great and deeply divided nation, has become a political football, with different sides digging in their heels. On one side we have the proponents of permanent daylight saving time, arguing that it saves energy, reduces traffic accidents, and boosts the economy. They see the biannual time shift as an archaic practice that disrupts sleep patterns and serves no real purpose in our modern world. On the other side stand the defenders of the status quo, who argue that changing the clocks twice a year is a small price to pay for the benefits of longer summer evenings and shorter winter days. They worry about the potential consequences of permanent daylight saving time, such as darker mornings for children going to school. Adding fuel to the fire are recent developments in Florida, a state known for its sunshine, retirees, and questionable decision-making. In 2018, the Sunshine State passed the audacious Sunshine Protection Act, a bold legislative stroke that would make daylight saving time permanent in Florida. If only the federal government would get on board. This move, while applauded by sun worshippers and early bird golfers, has further complicated the national debate, highlighting the patchwork of time zones and the need for a unified approach. The debate over daylight saving time is not just about time, it's about our values, our priorities, and our collective sanity. It's a debate that touches on everything from our sleep cycles to our national productivity, from the price of a cup of coffee to the very fabric of space-time. So buckle up, folks, because this is one time warp we can't escape. As with any issue that gains even a modicum of national attention, it wasn't long before the titans of Twitter, or as it's now known, X, decided to grace us with their unfiltered thoughts. First up, the former tweeter-in-chief himself, Donald J. Trump, initially voiced his support for ending the horrible practice of daylight saving time in a December social media post. Citing the usual suspects of inconvenience and economic cost, Trump seemed ready to add Time Lord to his ever-expanding resume. However, in true Trumpian fashion, his stance proved as fleeting as a summer sunset. Just a few months later, he backpedaled faster than a golf cart in a sand trap, acknowledging that it was a 50-50 issue with valid arguments on both sides. The Donald, it seems, is a man of many opinions, often held simultaneously, and with equal conviction. Not to be outdone in the court of public opinion, tech mogul and occasional Bond villain Elon Musk decided to conduct his own highly scientific poll on X, asking users their preference if the time change were to be cancelled. The results, as with most things on the internet, were about as decisive as a coin toss, with 58% favoring later sunsets and 42% clinging to their precious morning light. While hardly a ringing endorsement for either side, Musk's poll did succeed in its primary objective, reminding everyone that he is, in fact, still relevant. With these two titans of industry and ego weighing in on opposite sides of the issue, it's clear that the daylight saving time debate is far from settled. As the political pendulum swings and the social media algorithms churn, one thing remains certain. The only thing more predictable than the changing of the seasons is our collective inability to agree on anything, especially when it comes to time itself. While the rest of the nation dithers and debates, the good people of Florida, as they are wont to do, have taken matters into their own tanned hands. In a move that surprised absolutely no one familiar with Florida's hold my beer approach to governance, the state legislature passed the Sunshine Protection Act in 2018. This bold piece of legislation, a shining beacon of hope for those who long for year-round sunshine and despise the tyranny of clock changing, would make daylight saving time permanent in the Sunshine State. There's just one tiny little catch: Florida needs the federal government's blessing to make this dream a reality. You see, time zones, much like alligators and election recounts, are a matter of national importance. And even Florida isn't allowed to go rogue entirely when it comes to messing with the space-time continuum. Undeterred by this minor inconvenience, Florida has become a beacon of hope for the pro-daylight saving time movement, a sort of rogue state for time rebels. Their bold move has inspired other states to consider similar legislation, with varying degrees of success. From California to Maine, lawmakers are grappling with the pros and cons of permanent daylight saving time, weighing the potential benefits against the logistical headaches. Florida's Sunshine Protection Act, while currently in a state of suspended animation, has ignited a national conversation about the future of time itself. Will other states follow Florida's lead and embrace the sun-kissed promise of permanent daylight saving time? Or will the nation remain locked in a perpetual cycle of clock-changing chaos? Only time will tell. The Great Daylight Saving Time debate is ultimately a microcosm of American society itself, deeply divided, fiercely passionate, and utterly incapable of agreeing on even the simplest of things. On one hand, the proponents of permanent daylight saving time, armed with studies and statistics, paint a rosy picture of a world bathed in perpetual sunshine. They argue that making daylight saving time permanent would save energy, reduce traffic accidents, boost retail sales, and even fight crime. Longer daylight hours, they claim, would lead to healthier lifestyles, increased productivity, and a general sense of well-being. On the other hand, the opponents of permanent daylight saving time, equally armed with their own set of facts and figures, warn of a dystopian future shrouded in perpetual darkness. They argue that darker mornings would be dangerous for children going to school, lead to an increase in seasonal affective disorder, and disrupt the delicate balance of nature. They point to the failed experiment of year-round daylight saving time in the 1970s, which was met with public outcry and eventually repealed. The truth, as is often the case, probably lies somewhere in the murky middle ground between these two extremes. There are valid arguments to be made on both sides of the debate, and the potential impacts of permanent daylight saving time are complex and far-reaching. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to abolish the twice-yearly time change is a societal one, a balancing act between competing interests and values. So, the next time you find yourself grumbling about changing your clocks, remember this: the Great Daylight Saving Time debate is about more than just time. It's a reflection of who we are as a nation, and the choices we make about how we want to live our lives.